There is a building in Miami where billionaires park their sports cars 60 floors in the air. You drive into a glass elevator at street level. The platform locks the wheels, the engine cuts, 60 floors up, the door opens onto your sky garage. Car parked beside the bedroom, ocean on every side. No one told you the building has been dropping since it opened. 3 inches, 7 years, not stopping. $840 million worth of the most secure address money could buy, and the ground underneath is still moving. Florida law doesn't require anyone to tell you that. That was the alarm. This is what's underneath it, and why nobody will fix it. Sunny Isles Beach is a barrier island, a thin strip of sand pushed above sea level by ocean currents, a few feet high, a few blocks wide, flanked by the Atlantic on one side and the intracoastal waterway on the other. For most of the 20th century, it held low-rise motels, 2 stories, light, proportionate to the ground beneath them. Then, Gil Deezer bought 27 acres of that coastline and decided to build something the world had never seen. The Porsche-designed tower rises 641 feet over Sunny Isles Beach, 60 stories, 3 car elevators running through the hollow concrete core of the building, Deservators, named immodestly after their inventor. You drive your car through a glass door at street level. The platform locks the wheels, the engine cuts, the elevator carries you and the car upward at 800 feet per minute, less than a minute to the top, and opens directly beside your apartment. Your Porsche parks in a sky garage you can see from your bed. The building has 284 parking spaces for 132 units, more cars than apartments. It opened March 18, 2017, the building that launched a category the real estate industry had never seen before. Units sold from $5 million, the penthouse at $32.5 million. 22 billionaires live here. Lionel Messi parks here. Monthly fees run as high as $12,000. It was sold as a place you would never have to leave. The ground beneath this tower is oolite limestone, porous rock formed from fossilized coral and marine debris, found only in this part of Florida. Interbedded through it are layers of loose quartz sand carried down by ancient currents from the Appalachians. Limestone that dissolves when fresh water mixes with salt water. Sand that never fully stops moving under sustained load. Geologists knew all of this before construction began. It was in the published literature. It was the geology. Here's what happens when you put a 60-story tower on it. Weight presses down. Construction vibration from pile drivers and neighboring towers shakes the sand grains loose from their positions. They settle into a tighter pack slowly, invisibly, incrementally, over years. Engineers call this process creep deformation. Simultaneously, tides push groundwater back and forth through the porous limestone below, which dissolves gradually under the chemical pressure of salt intrusion. Picture a heavy book placed on wet sand. Someone taps the table every few months for a decade. On solid bedrock, it stops almost immediately. On this ground, it never fully does. Geologists knew these buildings were going to settle. The question engineers were supposed to answer was how much and for how long. In December 2024, researchers from the University of Miami published a study in the journal Earth and Space Science. Lead author, Fazana Aziz Zanjani, and senior author Falk Amelang, a geophysicist at the Rosenthal School of Marine, Atmospheric and Earth Science, worked with collaborators from the University of Houston and Germany's GFZ Research Center. They analyzed 222 satellite radar images taken between 2016 and 2023 using a technique called INSAR, Interferometric Synthetic Aperture Radar. Here's what INSAR actually does. A satellite photographs a fixed reference point on a building, a balcony rail, a rooftop air conditioning unit, hundreds of times over 7 years. The shift between each image, measured to within 1 millimeter, shows exactly how far that point has moved. The satellite orbits at 435 miles. It can detect a displacement smaller than the thickness of a credit card. Amelung had spent 20 years using this technique on subsidence patterns across the world and had never thought to point it at Miami. "I didn't even bother to look," he said, "because I didn't expect it." What he found across a 12-mile stretch of coastline? 35 buildings had sunk between 3/4 of an inch and just over 3 inches since 2016. 70% of Sunny Isles coastal high-rises showed subsidence. Named buildings in the study include the Ritz-Carlton Residences, Trump Tower 3, Armani Casa, Jade Signature, the Faina Hotel, and the Surf Club Towers. At the very top of the list, highest measured subsidence, fastest rate, the Porsche Design Tower, just over 3 inches, the highest in the study. Almost all the buildings at the coast itself, they're subsiding, Amelung told the Miami Herald. It's a lot. But what stopped Amelung was not the measurement, it was the trend line behind it. The geotechnical reports written before construction had predicted settlement for, in his own words, a couple of months after construction. The satellite found it continuing 10 years later. "This subsidence wasn't really anticipated," he said, "but we see it 10 years or longer." That gap between what the engineering models predicted and what a satellite found is the real story. Not a collapse warning, a failure of modeling on a barrier island being loaded in a way it has never been loaded before. Before going any further, one comparison needs to be made clearly and then put aside. The Champlain Tower's south collapse in Surfside in 2021, 98 deaths, 4 miles from this building, was not caused by ground subsidence. The researchers specifically checked. No measurable subsidence was detected at Champlain before the collapse. It failed because of structural deterioration, spalling concrete, corroding rebar, decades of water pooling on the pool deck, deferred maintenance compounding silently over time. 2 different mechanisms, 2 different failure modes. The Porsche Tower is not Champlain. But the distinction also reveals the shape of the risk, because there is a version of subsidence that is manageable and a version that is not. If a building drops evenly, all corners at the same rate, engineers can accommodate it. Pipes and facades stay intact. It is uncomfortable, but survivable within the tolerances most modern towers are built to. The dangerous version is differential settlement. One corner moves faster than the others, imperceptible from inside, but measurable from orbit. The building tilts by fractions of a degree. Pipes crack inside walls where no one will see them until the water appears somewhere else entirely. Window frames pull out of square. Facades split along stress lines. Doors stop closing.
Even settlement, if the whole building goes down as one, it's not a big problem. It's getting a problem if you get differential settlement. We see some evidence for differential settlement, but it's not very much.
The study found evidence of differential settlement at the Porsche Tower. Present, not yet severe, and no one is monitoring it continuously. There is also a question the study does not address directly, but that engineers commenting on competing videos have been raising independently. The Desavator system distributes 284 cars across 60 floors, a significant and unevenly distributed live load on a foundation already in motion. As residents arrive and leave, as cars are lifted and lowered daily, the load pattern across floors shifts continuously. Whether that matters at the scale of millimeter-level ground movement is genuinely uncertain. Frame it as the open question it is. But it is exactly the right question to ask about a building whose entire identity rests on a mechanical moving load. Florida passed Senate Bill 4D in May 2022, the most significant condominium safety legislation in state history, passed in direct response to Champlain. Milestone structural inspections required, mandatory reserve funding required, a serious and substantive law. It contains no requirement to monitor ground movement, no requirement to disclose subsidence data to resale buyers, no requirement to continue tracking settlement after construction is complete. The satellite study was academic research, found by a university team, not commissioned by the developer, not reported to residents, not disclosed to any buyer of any resale unit, not filed with any Florida regulatory body. The developer said the building settlement was within normal engineering parameters. Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levine Carver said the findings should pose no risk to anyone. Amelung's response to those who doubt the satellite data?
But this technique is around since a long time. It is very reliable. So they better believe it.
In February 2026, when a new tower nearby was approved amid public concern, developers were required for the first time to monitor ground movement during construction and for 1 year afterward. First time, 1 year. Then the requirement ends. That is exactly where Miami stands right now. And it's not just a problem for the people who can afford a $9 million apartment. Anyone purchasing a resale unit on this coastline, any one of the tens of thousands of residents across these 35 buildings, is buying without any legal right to know what the ground beneath them is doing. Florida's coastal insurance market is already collapsing under the weight of climate risk. Subsidence is not yet part of that calculation. It will be. The Porsche Tower is the most recognizable name in the study. The more troubling number is the one next door. The Bentley Residence's construction site, also Deezer, also Sunny Isles, same geology, showed just over 1.5 inches of displacement during the study period, sinking before the building was even finished. Bentley Residences, 62 stories, 216 units, prices from $5.6 million, expected completion 2027. The same deservator concept, the same barrier island, the same interbedded limestone and sand. Nearly half the units already sold to buyers who committed without knowing the ground under the construction site had already moved. The foundation required the largest residential concrete pour in Florida history, 20,000 cubic yards. The deeper you press into this geology, the more you're trusting the same material the satellite has been quietly watching move for 7 years. Deezer pioneered car brand residential towers in 2012. The concept has now spawned Bentley, Aston Martin, Armani, Mercedes and Lamborghini residences, every one of them on or near the same Florida coastline. Every one of them built on the geology the study has now flagged, and every one of them subject to the same absent monitoring requirements. The Porsche Tower's problems did not end the experiment. They are the experiment's proof of concept, and the industry is still running it. The buildings are going down. The sea is coming up. Sunny Isles is projected to face roughly 100 days of flooding per year within 2 decades. Every inch of subsidence and every inch of sea level rise have exactly the same indirect effect on flood exposure. They compound. They do not average out. Miami's $5 billion stormwater master plan is still in progress. The buildings are moving downward into a coastline that is simultaneously rising to meet them, and neither measurement is being watched continuously by anyone legally required to watch. Amelung said it plainly.
Do more. In 5 years, we're going to publish another study, and people maybe will pay more attention than if it is only 8 centimeters as it is now.
Tonight, the lights are on in Sunny Isles. The deservators are running, the supercars are parked in the sky, and just over 3 inches below where the foundation sat in 2016, so slowly no one inside can feel it, the most secure address money could buy is still sinking. The tower was sold as a place you would never have to leave. What nobody could sell and nobody could buy was the ground. Florida law still hasn't answered who is responsible for watching it move. The Porsche Tower is going down into Miami's Barrier Island geology. Half a mile away, the Aston Martin Residences has a different problem entirely. Forensic engineers, active lawsuits, concrete already falling from height. Same marketing formula, different mechanism, and in some ways, a worse story. That is the next video. Here's the question this one leaves you with. Miami has known about this for over a year. The Bentley is still going up. The monitoring requirement ends after 12 months. At what point does a regulatory gap become a deliberate policy choice? Drop your answer in the comments and subscribe for more MegaBuild stories. Thanks for watching.